Welcome to the Trainer HQ podcast, the show that's all about helping fitness professionals start, grow, and scale world-class coaching businesses. Whether you're based inside a gym, run your own studio, or building an online fitness business, we've got the best practice tools, strategies, and real-world experience to fuel your success. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another edition of the Trainer HQ podcast. Mr. Jason Ubanowicz, welcome, sir.
Thank you. It's good to be here. That's all I've got.
It's all you've got, man. And we've got a very, very special guest in town, and very poignant, I should say, because this is our 150th episode.
Give it up.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Well done, Trainer HQ.
If we get the clap going, hopefully everyone who's listening to this will clap at the same time.
It's about encouraging behaviour, you know?
Yes.
Do you reckon some people just go, big fucking deal? It is a big deal for us.
It is a big deal. It is a big deal. So, and why it is significant, because we've got one of our Trainer HQ legends, superstars, success story, and master coach, Mr. Chris Mount. Welcome, sir.
Thanks, mate. That was definitely a mouthful. I feel like the resume is growing on that one, definitely.
You can put it on your desk, you know what I mean? Yeah, people have the sign on the desk of their title, you know? So, yeah.
More of a plaque on the wall, tombstone sort of style.
Yeah. Now, you run Lift Inner West in Sydney.
Absolutely.
Yeah, man. Very successful. So we've got a lot to unpack about this, but I guess where it starts, was Mr. Chris Mount attended an event in 2018 with us 7 years ago.
7 years.
Yeah. So, man, tell us about, before we get to the current model, the current gym, Lift, all the success there, let's talk about the early days, man. What was life like in 2018 for you as a personal trainer in the inner west of Sydney?
Yeah, and I should say that this is the second time we've had you on, but a lot's changed since then, so we'll put the link in there if you want to hear more about Chris's early days as a PT when we started out in the park. But as Brad was saying, 2018.
Yeah, so I've been PTing now 17 years, so 2018 is kind of like the halfway point, I guess. 2018, I was working out of a Plus Fitness in Leichhardt, which was probably, I guess, a different experience from me from going. I'd started off in the early days working out of a big gym, but then I very quickly moved into the studio model. And I actually quite liked that studio model. I liked that people had higher intent in terms of actually coming for a service rather than I had to try and convince them to go into personal training. So then when I actually got into going back into that bigger environment, I came in with the small studio mindset of, if I put myself at a premium rate, people are happy to pay it. I just have to find the right people. But having said that, it was a budget gym and I was charging a premium price. So there was a lot more no's between yeses in that first instance. So, but for the most part, the attitude's always been the same, is just go in there and do what you love doing. And I just sort of did the things that I think most people do. You do a couple of classes to pay the rent, make it down a bit cheaper. The gym will generally give you some leads that you've got to follow up that don't really ever come through with much, and so you've got to kind of fumble your way through it. And then that's sort of what happened in the beginning, and then I kind of ran into you guys.
So that was, I guess, your 2017, 2018 mindset back then too. It's kind of like, hey, I'm stuck here. I'm getting what I take. There's a bunch of tire kickers at the gyms, all the rest of it.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. And you're great with your numbers and your data and your stats, as we were going through before this podcast. You got a spreadsheet there. What was your weekly revenue at that point in time?
$653.
$653. There you go.
And 28 cents because there was a fee tacked on top.
So were you doing something else then, though, as well?
Yeah. So in the early days of the business, I was on Mondays, I would do corporate fruit deliveries with my next door neighbour, just driving his truck and dropping fruit boxes to offices. And then on the weekends, I'd work in a wine bar, just waiting tables and working the bar. And then as the business started to grow, I just sort of dropped one thing off at a time, and then just kind of until I just got don't need the extra stuff now. I can just kind of support myself.
Yeah, and it's not uncommon for a lot of people listening to this too. And they're working a couple of jobs, or they're trying to transition out of a full-time career, or whatever it might be. And I guess what I'm hearing there is you were just in that mode of doing whatever it takes to get the revenue in. Yeah,
and I think it's really important, actually. I think that having that in the early stages of having that discipline to go, I really want to do this, but I still need to survive.
Yeah.
So like, not having the, oh no, but I'm just going to fumble my way through it. Like, just go do it. Like, no, don't be ashamed of it. Just do it. You still got to live. It's okay. Yep. You still want to be over here, and that's okay too. So just do what you need to do to live, and then build the thing that you're enjoying. And then as it gets busier, start to peel away some of the old baggage stuff that you're hanging on to, and move into the new thing, and do it with like, no, I've grown into this stage, and now I'm here, and I'm happy to be here because I've gone through all this stuff.
That's what you were saying all the time. Big fella, you always go like, what are you prepared to do in the short term to get there? Just as long as you've got your sights set on where that is, because otherwise I can see why people won't do it. But if you go, well, I've got a strategy, I've got a plan in place. In the meantime, I've got to make some more revenue, so I'm going to do what it takes to do that as I'm transitioning. So yeah, it's cool. Yeah, very cool.
Yeah. And on that point as well, as I guess as you were alluding to, for some people it can also be a trap to go, I've got this guaranteed income. So let's say the fruit delivery brings in $500 a week.
Yep.
I've got this guaranteed $500 a week. I won't want to let go of it because I'm hanging on to it, right? So so that's anyone tuning into this. If you're in that and you're going, hey, hold on, I've been hanging on to this thing for maybe a bit long. We go, all right, we need the action plan if you want to get out of it, right?
And today's about Chris and his story, and just you saying that we've had a client who over the last 7 years was working at Coles as a manager and all the rest of it. And before meeting us, he was trying to get the business up, was struggling, didn't really have a clear strategy and plan to do it. And after about 3 months, he's now been able to reduce his hours from Coles and see that there's a way forward because there's a real strategy in place, learning how to run the business properly. But otherwise, you're right. It could easily just to stay in a job you don't like. But it's paying the bills because I don't know how to make that transition smoothly. Hey, so.
Yeah. There's that the pain comfortability factor, right?
Yeah.
Like it's comfortable being here. It's kind of painful over there. Well, I'll stay here because it's comfortable. It's not uncomfortable enough that I really want to change it. Like my boss is not that much of a dickhead.
We were talking
and
about
the staff are not like the staff that I work with. They're not that bad, and it is pretty close to home. And everyone keeps saying no to me over there. So it's like, I will do it, but I won't actually commit to it. And
it's what we're talking about last night, the golden handcuffs.
Yeah, you're stuck in and you're like, well, it's not that bad that I'll change it.
I'm just about to leave. Oh, you wouldn't believe they gave me a raise.
Yeah, funny that, yeah.
I hate it. I'm not passionate about it. Fitness is my passion, but, it's good money over here. Anyway.
Yeah, it's funny, actually. I was interviewing a guy last week for a job and he wants to grow his massage business. But then he's doing some mobile PT and then he's doing some like corporate PT and then he wants to really grow his massage business, but then he applied for a job with me. And I was like, well, I'm not sure what are you going to be able to do with this? Like, I'm going to want you to work like a decent amount of time. You actually want a great massage business. Adding an extra thing to your plate, is it really going to be helpful? Why don't you just like not do the 20 sessions or 20 hours with me and put that 20 sessions or 20 hours into growing your massage business?
Yep.
And you might actually find that it grows.
Yeah.
And it was too much of an aha moment for me. I was just like, okay, cool. You probably should go do that, mate, to be perfectly honest, because it's not going to serve you doing this.
Yeah. So good. The coach coming out, of course, the business coach.
Yeah. Well, funnily enough, I was telling Jace this morning that he told me that he turned up to a Create PT Wealth 2-day workshop and got all the things he needed to get out of it in that 2 days. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. Yeah. I have never heard of the guys. So can you tell me a little bit about them? And he didn't really have much to say. I was like, well, clearly the message got through to you. So, and here you are applying at my door now. So,
and for those who are listening and don't recognise that name, that was when we started back in 2008, we were, the company name was Create PT Wealth. So, yeah.
And speaking of Create PT Wealth, it was the 2018 Create PT Wealth 2-day seminar that you come along, and you were actually Coach Keys +1 that day, right?
Yeah, correct.
So he'd been gifted an extra seat. You come along, and I remember you're standing up. I think it was at the start of day 2, and we're like, all right, give us some feedback from day 1, people. And your comments were just like, wow, man, I've got a lot of. I've been in this game for a while, and I've got a lot of shit to sort out.
Yeah, and I think, like we said, no shame in working a second job. There's also actually no shame in going, I don't have it figured out either.
Yeah.
Like, I've been pretty savvy, but I'm definitely not as savvy as, 7 years on the program now and all that sort of stuff. So
yeah. So you jumped on it in that first couple of years, now we're into sort of 2018, 2019 and so forth. You had some pretty significant growth. So do you want to just tell us about what that part of the journey looked like?
Yeah, in the start, I was working with Morgs and he had a really good philosophy with me. It was like, just go about doing your things, but just focus on trying to get one person a week. Don't try to go overcook it. Like, don't go try to get 10 a week and things like that. Just try and focus on the next one, and just do one at a time. And then funnily enough, for me, that was really easy to like swallow. The work became easy to swallow. And then I was like, actually, I will implement the sales system. And then funnily enough, I will up my prices. And funnily enough, more people came and more things started happening. And then I got full to the point where I was working 5 a.m. till usually about 8:30, 9 o'clock p.m. back to back. And it was like, yeah, sick. This has actually kind of worked for me pretty well.
And at that stage, this was still in the gym, wasn't it? In the rent-based gym, wasn't it?
Yeah. And I ended up telling the owner, I was like, mate, I'm happy to pay more rent. I don't want your leads. I don't want to do your group classes anymore. I just want you to leave me alone so I can just do my thing. I don't want to be a part of it. I literally just want the space to just run my own thing. So if you are happy for that, man, I'm happy to pay you more rent, but just leave me alone.
Yeah. That's cool. And you had some significant growth. I can remember you hitting some pretty good numbers there on a weekly or a monthly basis. Can you remember roughly what it was?
Yeah, it got up to about like $3,000-4,000 a week.
Yeah.
In the gym.
Solid. And that's just you as a solo independent trainer.
Yeah.
I mean, back then you weren't offering any type of online coaching, right?
No,
it was just purely you doing the do.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, just in the hustle.
So I mean, just to pause on that, you go $600 a week when we first met you. You're doing other stuff to now we're to what you $3,000. And I know Morg said, "I'll just focus on one." But what were some of the significant changes that allowed you to grow like that and get to that point? Because we see a lot of people that just get stuck at that, and they don't. So that's some decent growth. I know it was over a period of a year or whatever, but
yeah, what was it?
I mean,
I think there's a couple of things. There's a few people I really admire in Create PT Wealth. So I always want to kind of be at their level.
Yep.
So I'm prepared to work hard for that. So I look at them and go, what are they doing? And I want to be there. The second thing was Sydney's really fucking expensive. So that and we'd had a kid.
Yeah.
So I took that. I take that responsibility as a dad pretty seriously, and I was like, well, I need to start. It's time to grow up. And I need to start being a dad and being the provider and things like that. So then my internal sort of, I call it my mongrel, came out, and I was like, right, it's time to move. And then I just started working on things like sales system. Never had one. I just sort of winged it. And it was just like, okay, cool. So if I actually just do a sales system and I actually have something to offer people, it changes the game, right?
Yeah.
I actually can take them through a process sitting down in a consult room. And they go, oh yeah, right. And then I went from charging $60. What was I doing? I was doing $70 a session, or you could get 2 for 110.
Right.
And I was like, oh.
Giving yourself a decent pay.
And then I went, oh yeah, sick. Well, how about we just go to $150 a session, and I'll just do hour sessions, and I'll just call it $150 a session, and if you want to do $249, $349. And the way I worked out that pricing was it was $100 for the session, and then it was like $149, $249, $349, and the $49 was the 30 minutes I was going to pay myself to do work on that client outside of that. So I'd sort of worked out that I'm actually going to start paying myself to do work outside of the time, so I'll just charge that in the time. So the session was $100, but the $49 was the time that I'd allocate myself to during the week to do work on it.
Yeah, and part of a sales experience, what you're alluding to is you're selling an end experience, a program, a result, as opposed to just exchanging a time for money.
Yeah.
So, and that's what you developing that sales system. That's exactly what that is.
Yeah. And what I was asking is the skill, right? Because you look at from 600 where you are now, you mentioned sales and a few other things. You go, and we talk about this all the time, right? Don't expect your income just to go to $2,000, $3,000 if you don't develop the right skill set. So what I was getting at there is that, so while you were doing sales and you probably just naturally were doing it, you now invested time, energy into getting better in that area because you're in a sales and marketing business.
Yeah, 100%.
And as a result, you get more confidence, you charge more, all the rest of it, right? So for people listening, going, the key thing there that I heard was that you started to develop the skill sets that were going to allow you to earn more.
Yeah. And I'm paying for this coaching program.
Yep.
So I did everything I could to turn up to every single workshop.
And you did. And
I was like,
absolutely did.
I'm going to be annoying. I'm going to be there.
Yeah.
And I'm going to throw myself into this head first. And it was just, I think we just talked about it in the hallway. Like, you said, it's going to be a big day. And I'm like, is there any other option? Like, that's just what we do, right?
Yeah.
That's the only option, is just go for
it. And then you can look at the return, right? So I invested, 10 grand, 15 grand, whatever it may be, to go, then what did it make you? From, if you were going to struggle sitting around $600, maybe get up to 1,000, but to 3,000, you go, well, in 1 year.
Yep.
What are we talking?
Significant. You've 10x your return on investment.
And we talked about rents before, right? So the rent was only $200 a week at this gym. And I'm like, well, do the math.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I've got all my electricity, all my equipment paid for, maintained, lights are on, all the things work. $200 a week, I pay it all day.
So again, for people listening, and this is a really important part, like if you're not getting to where you want to be and you're just persisting with that, the question is not what it costs you to invest to get help or improve, and it's like, what's it costing you every week that you're staying at the same level? Like, how much is that actually costing you for every sale you miss, for every DM that you don't know how to respond to, for every person that goes, I'll think about it, I'll ask my partner, for all the shit that you don't know how to do and overcome those things, it's costing you an absolute fortune. So I want to make a point of that, because you're a real life example of what happens when you put the work in and you invest in yourself to change your situation.
Yeah. And I think also in something that you just said there was like, you're not going to get every sale.
No.
And just like understand you're not right for everybody either.
Nor do you want everyone.
Yeah. And that's the thing as well, right? Like, you don't want to be right for everybody, because if you're right for everyone, you're probably not right for anyone.
Yeah.
So the more that you can kind of focus on the people that you actually want to work with, you'll probably find that if you start talking about it enough, they'll find you pretty quickly.
Yeah, so good. And then the other part that I'm hearing is a massive mindset shift for you through that period, right?
Yeah.
To go from $70 a session up to $149, that's a big jump. And for some people listening to this, go 70. Fuck, if I can go from 70 to 80, that's a great outcome, right? And for some people that is, right? But you go, all right, that's a step in the, that's a change. That's not just a skill set. That's a mindset shift massively too, which, you went on that journey, You were all in, that's for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So we're coming into now 2019. You come and join us in Bali at the Ignite event. I remember that. Yep. And at that time, you got in talks with the possibility of actually branching out and opening your facility, because I guess do you feel like you'd maybe outgrown or maxed out your time at the rent based, or did you just want your own space? How did that all come about?
I always wanted my own space, because I kind of just have always wanted to do it my way. I feel like there's a lot of really nice businesses out there that haven't necessarily joined a franchise, and they've done something that's really special. There's a big bunch of people actually that I did my PT course with that have opened their own sort of private studios in Sydney and things like that, and I've seen what they've been able to grow, and I'm just like, wow, I really want that for myself. For me, that's the impact part, and being able to, I guess, show trainers that you don't have to flog yourself to get there as well. That's kind of like my motif now. But also the other side of that was just, I felt like where my business was heading, it wasn't aligning with the budget gym anymore as well. And I needed to kind of figure out, like, I either need to go to a nicer gym per se, or I need to go and find something where I can create my own unique stamp.
What you were saying is there was at that time an opportunity that potentially come up with a client, but as we all know, that was at the end of 2019. It was leading into what was about to happen in 2020.
Yeah. So I had a gym regular. He was pretty cashed up. He was a big real estate mogul, and he was just one of the regular people that I chat to on the floor, and he's a pretty big dude like you, Brad, and I chat to him a lot about what he was doing and how he was doing it. Never had the intention of trying to train him, but he was like, mate, what are you doing with everything? Would you be interested in, I'd back you if you want to go into your own space. I've got a building. I reckon you'd be great in there. And I was like, okay. So we talked about it. Then I shopped around, had a look, threw him some numbers, threw him all the bits. And he goes, okay, yeah, sweet. Found this beautiful place in Rozelle. And it was like, this is me. Like, this is where I can make my mark. And the night before the lease was due to be signed, he just pulled out. And I'm like, fuck. This is not good. But then happily enough, 2 weeks later, we went into lockdown. So like the biggest blessing in disguise ever. So
yeah. It's amazing. Because I remember, as a side note to that, we were down at Filex at the big fitness expo. And again, another reflection on you and your journey and you just putting yourself all in. We put the word out to clients. We go, hey, we're going to be down at this expo. Who wants to come and join in on us? Volunteer your time to encourage other people to be a part of this. And of course, who was the first person to stick their hand up? You come and spend your time with us. And remember us having that conversation. You were shopping around, looking at gym equipment, all that sort of stuff, weren't you, at that point in time? It was like a super exciting time. And it's amazing how it works out, the whole COVID thing, and it's like it threw a spanner. Imagine you opening, and then that would have occurred. It would have been interesting. That's for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
We were working together at that stage, and I remember many conversations around that time. And I guess that then leads into being in New South Wales, you guys copped, pretty hefty lockdowns compared to us and state of Victoria, but. What are you now? How did you adapt? So, obviously, the gym that you were at, that's shut.
Yeah, I pre-warned him and said, "Oh, by the way, all the council ones have shut. Do you think we should be thinking about that as well?" And he goes, "No, they're not going to shut gyms down. That's crazy." And then so I sort of started making plans for my clients already. I'm like, "Listen, they've shut down all the local council gyms, which are like your big leisure centres." And I was like, "They've shut these down. I think that we should start thinking about a plan here."
Yep.
I've got some stuff. Maybe we could do it in a park and things like that. And then it just it was like a knife just coming down on the block, just bang, and everything was just shut. So we started a park for a little bit, and we probably did it about 2 weeks. And I was like, I've naffed this. I hate being in the park anyway, to be fair, like haunting memories of when I first started the business. I just hated being a slave to the weather. It was dark, it was cold, and you try to reserve a space and someone brings their dog through or someone treads in dog shit or something like that, and you're just like, oh, fuck. This is not, and they're still paying $150 a session and they've got dog shit in their shoe and they're like stressing themselves out, right? And you're just like, oh, this is not a great experience. The value's low here.
Living the dream.
Yeah, this is great. And then I saw that Iron Edge had a deal going on, like a lockdown deal, which was like a rack, some plates and a barbell and a bench. And I just said to a few clients, I was like, hey, listen, like if I spent money on this, and I set it up in my house, would you be interested in doing that? Instead of doing it at the park, I've got an awning, I've got a light, it's outdoors because it was open. So technically we were in all the rules.
Within the rules, yeah.
Yeah, we played within the rules, so that was very important. It was private. And then we just did that. And so it all turned up. And
I love how you even, didn't you even get those like just wind blocker blinds?
Yeah, so my next door neighbour, funnily enough, their air conditioner, like the outside of the air conditioner just blows all the air straight into where we were working. So in winter, it's blowing all this cold air as it's blowing hot air into their house. It's just blowing cold air at us. So I was like, put like big conduit sheets up, and then we've got the wind blockers and the rain blockers to kind of block the sun in the afternoon and the rain during the day and just things like that, and put the floors down, had a little stereo out there. It was great.
And how long did that go for again? So how long was that?
We were there for like 12 months.
It was 12 months.
A good 12 months, yeah.
And I remember seeing the space too. Roughly how many square meters did you have, to put it in context for people listening in?
It was exactly 9 square meters because it was 9 black tiles.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it was on an angle, and like we had to do rises just to try to get the rack straight.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was like my very proud 9 square meters. I love that 9 square meters. It was the best.
It's another good thing to stop now, because during that period a lot of people freaked out. A lot of people like panicked, and you adapted, and you what gave you the confidence and the courage just to go, we can make this happen at my house? Or was that not even a thought? You just went, because if you listen to this, you're probably picking up already, Chris, as somebody who will look for solutions where other people will see the problems and every solution that's available. But if you're hearing this, you've already come up with a couple of solutions already. You're already ahead of the game. Spoke to the client. So if I was to do this, would you come? And you made it happen. So is there, in your thinking process and that, was it just like, I've got no choice in this, I've just got to make it work? What was going through your mind at that stage?
So we were now pregnant with our second kid.
Yep.
So again, dad mode kicked in, and my wife's company, they didn't pay maternity leave.
Right.
So when you get put in that situation, you just don't have options. You've just got to figure it out.
Yeah.
And to be fair, I don't think I have I don't think I'd generate a really strong OnlyFans. So, you know, your options run few and far between.
Not without trying though.
Yeah, well, mate, I'll give it a crack, but I don't know how well I'll do. But it's just like, well, when your back's up against the wall, what do? You've just got to go for it. Like that's your only option. There isn't another option. You just got to do whatever you can. And
well, that's what high performers and successful people do. A lot of people don't feel they got an option. They could have just quit, and we saw that. So it's just a good, again, point to get across that these are some of the habits, right? The mindsets that if you're listening to this and you go, do I align with what Chris is saying? Do I, under pressure and under these situations, do I crumble, do I fold, or do I look for solutions?
Yeah, and you gotta back yourself.
Yeah.
You don't have a choice. You're in business now. If you don't back yourself, no one else is going to.
Yeah, the thing I've observed with you over the years is there's this level of certainty in your voice and your confidence with doing it. You know, so even observing you and now listening to you reflect on it, it's like, yep, Iron Edge deal, space, let's fucking make this work. You know, and it's like, yep, I've got no other option.
And we none of us have a crystal ball. We don't know, but that backing yourself, I guess it's the matter. Well, I'm going to do everything in my power to make this work, right? That's what I call backing yourself, because we don't know if it's going to work or not. But I'd rather give it a go and go for it than look back with regret, going, you know what, I just packed it up and called it a day without even following my passion or my dreams or giving it a red hot shot. Yeah,
and I think the biggest thing in there as well is like, if you don't back yourself when you need to, when are you going to back yourself?
Well, that's the problem, right?
Yeah. Like even if it fails.
Yeah.
So?
Yeah.
So?
Yeah, that's right.
At least you had a go. Like no one's going to applaud you for having a crack. At least the people that I try to hang around with now.
Yeah.
The people that I have become very attuned to are the people who, like, if you're not pushing yourself, you probably shouldn't be hanging out with us, and then they'll never put you down for trying harder. But they'll get disappointed if you just go, okay, whatever.
And on the flip side of that, like we say it a bit, right? There's just some people who just aren't cut out for it or don't want to be cut out for it. But it's an agonising spot to be in the middle. So it's rather you're up for it or you're not. But be honest, like don't blame COVID, don't blame this, don't blame the economy. It's like the reality is that you're just not prepared to do what it takes to get to where you want to be. Like a lot of people want to be in shape, right? They don't want to do the work though. A lot of people want to be rich, but they don't want to do the work, right?
Yep.
They all want the view, they don't want the climb.
Yeah. So I guess my question is, what did that season teach you then? So you made it happen. We've covered that part. What did you learn maybe about yourself and about business during that season? Because it wasn't in your fucking business plan.
No, definitely wasn't. What did I learn about myself? Probably that the resilience factor is still there after everything. Podcast 1, guys, go listen to that. Yep. The resilience factor is still there and it's still strong. I am prepared to do whatever it takes.
Yep.
And I guess then what do I do with it?
Yeah.
What do I want to do with it? I guess I learn't in business that I actually don't need 250, 300 square meters to run a studio. I can do it from 9. And I've befriended the Gelato Messina team, and when I was training them, and I was at a wedding sitting next to the owner of Gelato Messina, and he's like, mate, how's business going? And I'm like, yeah, it's going good. We're kind of just cruising along. I was training them in the park and doing online sessions with their crew during the lockdown periods. And he's like, how's it all going? And I was like, yeah, man, I'm just running out of my house. And he's like, and how's that for you? And I was like, it's great. And he's like, well, you've got 2 options. Take it from me. Either stay small and be super profitable or go really big and be a juggernaut force to be reckoned with. But just remember the middleman always gets fucked. And I'm like, okay. So I just thought, you know what? Let's just stay small and stay profitable.
Such a important
Oh yeah.
philosophy, because that was what I was looking for. Like it's going, resilience and creativity. The two things, right? So you would have learned about how you got resilience to get through these times, which you take that through the rest of your life going, I can deal with anything, really. And I'm creative enough to make it work. I'm not blocked on, well, it's at my house. Like, surely no one's going to want to train there and do that. You made it work.
Pay premium rates, all the rest of it.
They still rolled up in their AMGs. They still rolled up in their Bentleys. They still rolled up out the front. Everyone, the neighbours were like, what's he doing out there? But I was just like, yeah, they're still coming.
And how many times have we heard like, oh, I need to have this and I need to have that. Why? Yeah. Why do you need to have that? What are you selling? You're selling a solution. You're selling an outcome for the most part.
And back to business, and we say this all the time, business doesn't get easier as the years go on. You rise, you become better, you become more skilled, you learn what it takes, and this is a great example, a great reflection on exactly that.
Yeah.
And that's why as a coach, you want to work with somebody who's, when you talk about been there and done it, I'd want to be a coach with someone who I go through challenging times. This person has been there and done it and come out the other side, not just read some shit out of a book or haven't really experienced it. That's what makes a quality coach.
Yeah, you definitely need people who've gone through. Yeah, I like working with people who have either done what I want to do, have been where I want to be, or are there right now. And if they're not, then we're probably not on the same wavelength. Like I really struggle with people who don't have kids. Just because they just don't get it. They don't get what it takes to be a parent. And it's like, it's a different level of responsibility. And it's like, I have a business, but I've got 3 kids, so I need to be a parent too. So it's a different level of, like, the business is driven based on I have 3 kids to support as well. So
yeah, but I was gonna make mention of that 3 down. What are the ages of the kids now?
6, almost 5, and almost 2.
Yeah, man, you have plenty of hands full right there. Hey.
Yeah. Yeah, it definitely is. It's a long day. It's a long day.
So you did the thing during COVID, and the studio was always on the cards, right? It was never not an option. Yeah, it was never not an option. As you then, we discussed going into where you are now, the first studio. What was that transition period like? How did that come about?
Yeah, so there was a period where they started easing off some of the restrictions and things like that in Sydney. A lot of my clients are sort of the corporate type. They started heading back towards going into the office. And then for them to do that, they would have to travel south to me and then head back towards the CBD. So it was actually like an out-of-the-way trip. So I was noticing... I started noticing the trend of them having to move sessions around more or trying to get in earlier or, not being able to make sessions. I was like, okay, cool. Well, I've got kind of 2 options here. I can either lose all these clients because it's going to become too inconvenient for them or just find something that's closer on the other side of where they are so they can come through me to go to where they need to be. And so I just started looking. I was just like, all right, let's just have a look and see what's out there. And I think it was around my birthday, so it was around March. I just sort of went, and I just sort of found this little warehouse. Probably it's definitely smaller than your office. It's like an 11 by 4.
Yep.
And I was like, oh, this is great. I went and had a look, drove past. The guy who was in there was just leaving because he just outgrown it. And I had a bit of a chat to him and he sort of showed me around and I was like, oh, this is kind of cool. And I can actually afford it.
Awesome.
And this is March. So COVID was, say, March 2020. So this is now March 2021? 2021. Yeah, cool. And then when did you go in there?
April 21.
April 21.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. And then you guys caught more lockdown spot, didn't you, that year?
Yeah, and I live on the wrong side of the Cooks River. So I'm 400 metres inside the Canterbury Bankstown LGA. So we'd open for 3 months and I had to shut the doors for 4.
What a time to be alive, eh?
Especially when you just put all your life savings into opening the studio and now you got to shut the doors and tough shit.
Yeah. What was that period like?
Yeah, there was definitely a lot more responsibility now because I've got to pay rent on a facility, whereas at home before it was kind of a bit easier. I didn't have to pay rent. We've now got a newborn because it's now April 21. She was born in August 2020. And So we shut down. We can't do anything. I did a couple of online sessions, but then by this time, a lot of my clients were like, hey, look, just go and spend the time with your family and we'll just kind of bankroll you. We're still working, so it doesn't really bother us. And, you know, I think at that stage they were pretty tired of doing online sessions. So they were just like, look, we'll catch them up when we get back in the studio and just go and spend some time with your family and enjoy that moment that you have with them, because it's not going to always be like this, but just, you know, go and spend some time with them while they're little and we'll just pay the bill and it's all good.
Good reflection of the work you've done in the past. You know, say do the work, get rewarded, and because of that, you know, you hear stories like that where your clients are rooting for you to survive and be all right. You know, it's just such a cool thing. Hey, And if you were doing a lackluster job and doing the bare minimum, that wouldn't have been the case whatsoever.
Yeah, well, they're the ones who actually told me that we're coming out of lockdown too. Because by then I just had enough. Yeah, I was just like, I just felt beaten down, and I was just like, I've had enough of this. Like, but then they text me and they're like, oh, did you see the news today? And I was like, no. And they're like, oh, well, apparently you guys are coming out. And I was like, oh, interesting. So, and we were like, our street's like a pretty reasonable thoroughfare, so we sort of copped it. We had army out the front all the time, and we'd go to take the kids for a walk just to get out of the house. And they're like, oh no, you guys can't be out here together, and you guys are going to turn back. And
crazy,
there's helicopters flying over the house every day, and it's just like we're not criminals, man. We're just like we're just trying to survive. We had big curfews of 8 o'clock and stuff like that.
Sydney and Melbourne, you guys just got royally fucked that time. There's no two ways about it. And that started the northern migration up to Queensland. It was going ballistic around that time. So now we're somewhere into 2022, right? So when did the actual dust settle for you, and when did you?
We sort of got back in. What's that? 4 months. So it was sort of about like October, November, and we sort of got back into the studio.
21,
yeah. Yep. And then it kind of just pitter-pattered very quietly for the end of the year. Everyone sort of just dragged their feet to the end of the year. And then, of course, it was like the end of the 10-day, when you had COVID, you had a 10-day lockdown. So I'd never had COVID up until this point, and it was like the last day of the year, a client walked in and he had COVID and he gave it to me and the Messina head chef. And so then I had to ring all the clients and say, oh, by the way, sorry, I just fucked your Christmas up as well. So you're all going to be in lockdown. I just got COVID. So that was a good end to the year. And it was just like, I just can't anymore. And then we got into 2022 and I was just like, okay, I'm going to take a break with the fam. We all went away and got a house somewhere for a couple of days and just sort of just chilled out. And then we came back and it just somehow, I don't know what happened, but I got back and there was like 3 inquiries and then we were on.
So someone listening to this and they're going, I do like the idea of going into a studio for whatever reasons, maybe similar to yours. I guess looking back, was there anything that was surprising to you? Anything that you go, I wasn't probably anticipating that being harder or easier than what I thought, like as you went through that process?
Yeah, you definitely have to. Just because you build a studio and put a sign on the door doesn't mean anybody's going to turn up.
Yeah, especially when you're not visible from the street.
You can't see us at all. So we're literally a business with no face. So people can't see us. We don't have any street signage. We've literally just got a window frosted with a logo in it, and that's pretty much it. That's all we're allowed to have.
Yep.
So that's probably the biggest thing is like be aware of what it takes to start generating interest in your business and your brand. And you need to become a brand. You can't, it's not enough to just put a logo on the door and hope people turn up. It's not.
Yeah.
Like you've actually got to build something that people want to be a part of.
Especially now.
Yeah. And that was probably the big thing that I didn't realize how difficult that was, because you go to these gyms and you're working in there, there's people signing up all the time. But you got to remember the juggernaut marketing campaigns that these places are running just to get new members. All these offers, you know, it costs a lot of money to run those offers. Like you might be paying $300, $400, $500 a week rent, but they're probably spending 100, 200, 300, 400 grand a year on marketing to make sure that there's people signing up to their gyms in their franchise, right? So
and for many gyms it could be in and out. They go, you know, what's the target this month? 100 sign-ups. Why? Because we're losing 90 a month, right?
So that's right.
Plus 10.
Yeah. And I thought whilst I understood the value of a client, you really start to understand the value of a client when you have your own space. You know, we sell our average spends $200 a client a week, right? So that's 10 grand a year per client. Well, 10 clients, if 10 clients leave, that's 100 grand a year. That's basically a studio fit out.
Yeah. Yep.
Like the retention factor needs to be very improved and refined and polished, because like if you lose a bunch, it's a lot harder to get a bunch than to keep a bunch.
Yep.
So you opened, and obviously you opened with did all your clients?
I lost one.
Just one?
I only lost one because I said, now that I've got 2 kids, I actually
Yeah.
want to be a dad.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to work nights anymore.
Yeah, I remember that.
And I said, all of the other clients have moved to mornings. I'm happy to work all the way up till 3. You can have me from 4:30 in the morning till 3 p.m. in the afternoon, but I'm going to go and spend time with my kids as well because I want to be a parent. And he just goes, oh, well, I'm not doing that. And I was like, okay, well, bye. And it was my first point in time that I'd actually sort of stepped into that and gone, this is a power moment for me.
I remember that.
And I was like, no, boundary, done. Not doing it.
So you're in there, you got your clients, you're starting to put some boundaries around, which we like, hey, like design your lifestyle first.
Oh, absolutely.
Because you made it the point earlier going, you know, it's also good to show trainers that you don't have to have this thing where you're just burnt out, your lifestyle suffering, you're not training yourself, because that's not a business, right? No. That's not what you call a business. You just bought yourself a very taxing, tiring job, which is worse because you don't get sick day, holiday pay, all that stuff. So you're a shit boss to yourself if you're doing that anyway. What were some of the habits, the systems, the processes that you put into place that allowed you to grow? Because your intentions was never just to be the PT running all the sessions in your own studio. You wanted to grow a team. But before we get to that, what was the process moving forward from there? Like, what did you realize that, okay, for me to be able to grow this business beyond me, what did you start to focus on in that, I guess, that next 12 months? What were some of the key things?
The first 12 months was really just getting bums on seats.
Yep. So you focused your energy.
Yeah. So I knew I needed to take on a trainer when there was 1 hour left in my appointment book from 4:30 a.m. till 3 p.m. every day. Yeah. There was only one hour spot left.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, it's probably time to take on a new trainer because I can't do it anymore.
Yeah.
And that was the physical point of just like, but I can pay the rent and I can pay my tax and I can give myself a little bit of money.
Yeah.
That was the first part. I was like, okay, cool. I'm kind of in the clear a bit here.
Yeah.
Because it's expensive. Like it is. Like I don't think people realize when you open a facility, like there's a lot of money that goes into that. Like it takes a lot. Like every quarter the electricity bill rolls around, the rent's due. Yeah. Just to open the doors, you got to put down 3 months rent. Have you thought about how much that is? That's dead money.
When are you going to break even?
How long can you kind of sit at the bottom before you start making green? Because it is expensive. You've got to put equipment in there. Yeah. Are you going to lease that or are you going to buy that? Well, if you're going to buy it, you might spend 50, 60 grand on equipment. Mm-hmm. Do you have to have, like if you're going to have a TV screen and what are you going to put on it? Like, is it just sitting there? Like, what do you need to do it? It's a big outlay. So you've got to kind of think about like, what's my break even point and how quickly do I need to get there? Yeah. And for me, I literally just drip fed everything in. We started with nothing. Yeah. We just basically picked up everything from my backyard, split out the racks and then just bought 2 extra like mounting poles. And then that became 2 racks. I was like, great, we have 2 racks now. So I've already set it up for 2 trainers to work out of. Yeah. I just need another trainer at some point, or I can let a client come in here and use it on their own at some point for now, just to make it feel busy. Yep.
And let's talk about Lift right now. So Lift, I mean, our observation of Lift is it's a fucking cool joint, right? You've set it up. You got standards, right?
Oh yeah.
And we'll refer people to, they can check out the Instagram and that later. But tell us about Lift today. Tell us some of the metrics about Lift. And how many trainers are there? What are we talking in terms of numbers and revenue and all that sort of stuff? And then we can unpack a bit about that journey to get you there.
So Lift today we are a private training studio. We work with over 30 busy parents and professionals. We're working with older adults, NDIS. We've just launched a nutritionist, which is one of my team members has grown their career and now and I wanted her to flourish. So I was like, hey, why don't you just do that with us? Another one of my team, he's about to finish his exercise physiology degree at uni. He's on his last placement today. So I said, hey mate, when you come on board, why don't you open up that through us? And so for me, it's become a place of one, like I said earlier, showing trainers that you don't have to burn yourself out to actually earn good money. 2, showing them that like you can actually like create a career out of this and it's okay to learn and we can always do that. our retention rate for clients is an interesting one because people come and they just don't leave. But then at the same time, I make it really easy for them to stay. But I actually make it super easy for them to go as well. So the standards that come in is that like, we don't have a contract with a client, we just have an agreement. And my agreement is that like, if you don't like it, just give us 2 weeks notice and you can go.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of like my sales guarantee per se. What that does then means that at any point as a team member or as a trainer, your clients could just disappear in 2 weeks. So the service standards that we need to provide those people is high.
Okay.
And they're not people who are looking for the next best thing. They're people who want help. Like they're like, I'm a perfect example. I train at my gym. I pay for a trainer twice a week. I'm a busy professional. I'm nearly 40 now. I've got 3 kids. I run a business. You know, we've got 7 staff. We've got a cleaner. We've got 90 clients. I've got no time. Like, I need my 2 training sessions a week.
Yep.
And so when I go through the sales process with our clients, I'm like, I'm just like you. That's why I train here. And this is what I get out of training here. And then they just go, great, this is the spot for me.
How good using your own product though?
And guess what they all sign up for? 2 times a week. Yeah. So I've told them a few times I should just start training 3 times a week because then I know that everyone would sign up for 3 times a week.
It's the analogy of the rock up to the BMW dealership, right? And you're the salesperson. Are they driving out a Toyota or are they driving a BMW, right?
That's right. Yeah, it's important.
That's the question.
Yeah. Do you drink your own Kool-Aid? Like, if you're not prepared to work in your own product, or if you wouldn't, and my philosophy is would I pay myself for what we do? And I always ask my team, like, when you send me your pay for your invoice for pay for the week, would you pay yourself for that? If you wouldn't, then what do you think you need to improve on in that?
Yeah, I love it.
Like, I ask myself at the end of the week, what have I accomplished? And it doesn't matter if I've accomplished a little or a lot. And there's different levels of accomplishment, but I go to the end of the week and I go, cool, what have we done this week?
Yeah.
How have we done what we need to do, or what impact did I make on a trainer or on a client, or what's the conversation that I wish I had? Yep. You know, I think when you put up the what you win for the weeks, I think mine are usually like a blog almost because I'm like, there's so much stuff that's going on all the time.
Yeah. So good to share too. Yeah. So we've got a team of 7, did I hear?
Interesting. So we have there's a team of 6 trainers.
Yep.
We also have Josh, who is one of my clients. He's been a client of mine for 7 years now. He has come on to do our brand and marketing work and just to help to build that part of the business out.
Love it.
He got made redundant. Not long.
He's coming to our Inspire.
Yeah, he's coming. The big J-man.
Do some footage.
Yeah. So Josh is very much knows me and knows business. He started up at Plus with me. So he's been through
the ride.
Yeah, well, he's been through everything, right? So he's a really good example of like coming with us. Like Brianna works with us. Brianna and I worked together at Vision back in 2014. I remember her sitting on the staff room floor, finishing her Cert 4, like scribbling it down, doing notes and stuff. So it's like, you know, now she's become our nutritionist. So it's really good to watch these people grow and flourish in their careers over time. And, you know, Josh has started his own business, but he got made redundant. So I was like, mate, I reckon I could use some help, just like building the brand and the word out. Like I've got a skill set to so far, but you know, I need some help. I reckon I could give you a couple of hours a week work. Have a look. We pull back the curtain. He's been working with me now for like 18 months and the list is getting bigger and bigger and bigger and we're just going harder and harder and harder. So and then clients have been able to see what he's doing and he's getting referrals from the work he does with me to build his own business up now. So he's generating stuff out of me as well. So, so he's number 7. We have a cleaner, which is my next door neighbor. God love him. Which is really cool because he's an autistic young lad and he had a really hard time in school and he started training with me when he was 17 and then he finished high school and he'd always give me a bit of stick about, you know, everything's not straight and everything's not clean. And I was like, well, mate, I'll pay you. You come in and do it. Put your money. I'm prepared to put the money down. Come in and do it yourself. So he's been working with us now for 12 months. So he's number 8 and then we're hiring for trainer number 7 now. Well, I might put someone depending 7 and 8.
Yeah, solid team. And weekly numbers. Where are we sitting now?
Yeah, so we're doing about 145 PT sessions a week, and then we're doing about probably like 13 and a half a week. I think the numbers were when I looked at the spreadsheet this morning. So, which is really cool.
Yep.
I don't really get excited about those numbers anymore. I think that after a while, it kind of becomes pretty arbitrary. I get excited about the things that people come and say about it. So I probably get more excited about the new Google review that pops up than I do about the numbers on the spreadsheet. The numbers, it's just numbers from my screen to that screen to that screen kind of thing.
Yeah.
I like the graphs. That's a good reflection piece for me because I can see, okay, cool. Remember last year when we were sitting here trying to figure out what's going on? Look where we are now. Look where we are now. Look where we are now.
Well, it's a reflection of the work you've done, right? So the income should typically marry up with what you're doing, the effort you're putting in, right?
Yeah.
Very, very rarely you go make $1 million a year, and I've done absolutely fuck all to get there.
If you are, can you tell us all the secrets?
So then that's when the money would be excited. You'd be going, how look at that?
Yeah, and I think the money becomes exciting in the sense of the impact you can have with it. So I think that you taught me that a long time ago, Jace, which was like, it's just a resource that helps you to do the things that you want. And for me, I just want to be able to make good impact, whether that's on, the team and being able to help them with their careers, or it's at home being able to take the kids to do stuff that they want. Like, I think we were like took one of them to Disney on Ice, and it was like, oh, well, we'll just go at the back. And I was like, fuck that, let's go at the front. Like, it's the moments that you go, it's worth it.
Typically, most people, when you talk about money, the more they want is for freedom, right? Freedom, flexibility.
Yeah.
Because you can make all the money in the world, but if you're hating what you do and you've got no time and you're doing 80 hours a week, it wouldn't mean a lot. So,
and I guess the observation I'm seeing right now is you've engineered, number one, a lifestyle that you love, you're passionate about, family man, like ticks all the boxes. But over here, I guess what I'm hearing is a very strong community at Lift. So tell us about the importance of community and what you've actually built there in terms of that community.
I think the thing that we're trying to build, and I always will say to everyone, Lift is constantly under construction. Whether that's we're trying to constantly up level the way that we do things, or the way the services or the standards and everything like that. The community for me is just like, there's a big bunch of people out there that are searching for something. And if you can create something that they want to be a part of, then they're your biggest advocates. And then you see it in how they improve every day. Like Liam going from not being able to walk into the studio, now he's our cleaner and you can barely get a word in when he's around. Like, and he talks to all the clients and does all the things, and he graduated high school, he went night clubbing for the first time. Like, that's the community part. And then everybody celebrates that. Yeah. And it's like when clients are starting to bring us in, pastries and stuff because they want to share what they do with us. And, it's exciting. It's exciting to see that sort of stuff.
We've talked about it becomes their place, right?
Yeah.
So it's their place. It's not just yours. It's theirs. And
that's like I get clients involved. Like I'm really proud of the way we recruit trainers. So first they have to sit with me. Then the next thing is they have to come in and shadow the team. But I'm like, don't come near me. Go to them. And then they have to go and do a trial session with a client. And like I'll email the clients and go, hey guys, we've got new people coming through. I want you guys to be part of this process because your opinion matters to me.
That's what you used to do too.
Yeah, like it matters. Like, because at the end of the day, they're the end consumer. Yeah. Like if it's not a good fit, it's not a good fit.
Yeah.
And then I want them to sit down with the team, because if it's not a good fit with the team, then you set yourself back 6 months because you've picked the wrong person. And then after that, then we can talk options. But like if it doesn't fit across the board, then it's the wrong person for your community, and it can just throws a massive stick in the spokes, right? And you're just like, what am I doing?
It's the best bit about that too, having your clients get involved in that recruitment process, is your clients embrace it. Yeah. And what about the feedback you get, and what about the level of detail they go to, and how passionate they are to want to chip in and help. Yeah. And you go, what better person to actually assess this individual than the people who are going to be the end user of it?
Yeah. And then I think it's a huge thing. Like, look at the people inside your business. They're coming there for a reason. Like, use them for something. Like, ask them the questions that you need to ask, because they're the ones that have all the information that you need. And how's that marketing campaign going? Oh, I never saw it. Yeah. Well, the chances are, if they haven't seen it, you're not talking to them, because they're the ones who are in your business.
And by community, we could be talking in person like that, an online, business, whatever. But what I've found is that they'll join something because they feel you've got a solution to something that they're after, but they'll stay for the community. Yeah. So once, if there's not that part of it, typically that's why your retention might not be as good, right? So now I'm part of something, it's bigger than myself. I'm part of something where there's like-minded people. I get to mix with people that I enjoy being around. Yeah, all that stuff's really important. And that's what I hear there, is that people might have started, Chris, I need to lose some weight. I need to get myself back in shape. My kids, and then next minute it morphs into they're doing trial sessions with new trainers, and they're involved in the decision making in the community, and it's so powerful.
And for many of these people, this is the highlight of their day as well.
Yeah.
So it's like this
their
is
time.
the moment, you know, they go, okay, cool, cruising through a job, whatever they're doing, may or may not be passionate about it, but they come here and they go, this is the the hellos, the high fives, the experience they get, and of course, not to mention the training, the endorphins, everything else that we know of benefit, right?
Well, you have it with your, CrossFit, and I have it with going to the garage and doing the martial arts. It's my highlight.
Ticks that box.
It's my time. I'm not having to be a father, a boss, and so you create that.
I use that part in like when I talk to clients. I'm like, for the most part, this is just time for you to just put you in your diary. Make this that one moment where it's just about you.
Yeah.
Even if everything else in your day goes wrong, at least you've done something for yourself. And then people just go, yeah, I've done something for myself today. Maybe I didn't do as well as I could, but I actually just showed up, and that's okay too.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Cool. Let's talk about you, the master coach at Trainer HQ, mate, and how's that, shaped your experience of A, being a business owner, but also B, I guess having that impact on other people who are coming through and learning from you now.
Yeah, it's an interesting one because I see myself in a lot of the guys and girls that I've worked with, that young, starry-eye, kind of like new to the industry, getting ready. And I also realize how far I've come also than coaching, because it's like, we're talking about just the basics of setting things up. And it's like, hey, I always love like going, hey, this is what it looks like. And I'll bring up that graph sheet and I'll go, hey, look, in the start, it's usually pretty shit, just so you know. And it gets better. But the more work you put in, the better it gets. So don't be afraid to do the work. I quite enjoy it. How has it shaped me as a business owner has been really interesting, actually, because then I've had to stop and realize that, not everyone on my team is at the same level that I'm at. So I need to make sure that, like, I understand my concepts, but they don't understand that concept as well. And that's okay. They don't necessarily need to, but, sometimes taking the time to go through it and go, hey, we do this for this reason. Do you understand why we're doing that? Do you want to help me do it? We're actually kind of, I'm actually kind of using that with Brianna at the moment because we're launching nutrition. So we're going through, hey, this is awareness. This is consideration. This is how we do that. What do you think we should be saying here? We just need to kind of work on that. So using the same sort of lessons with her as we are in the coaching as well. So I was just like, hey, like you've just moved into this gym. You've got to put yourself out there. You put your poster up on the wall. Nobody puts their name down for it. Why do you think that happened? Because nobody knows who you are or what you do. All right, cool. So what do we need to do to kind of come back into that and look at,
And think about the experience that our clients are getting too. You think about all the years you've been in the game now, Vision PT, boot camps in the parks, rent-based trainer, home setup, studio, the list goes on, right? You think of all these levels of experience, your growth, your development, every single workshop event you've come to, and then being able to unpack that, like you can't put a price on that in terms of how you share that with others.
Being a father, having a family, managing both, it's like, you can't get that from a book,
Yeah.
It's
But you should still read books. But you should still read books.
Definitely should read the
Don't
books.
discount the books.
Definitely read the knowledge.
Yeah.
Nothing like going through it and being there firsthand. So what's next then? Where are you heading next?
So as I mentioned earlier, we have we've now kind of pulled into the business some of that allied health area. So as it stands of Wednesday, we're working through an offer to open a third premises, which is more clinic side now, which is basically for me, I'm backing my team who want to move into their next stage of career, which was what I'm a man of my word. If I said I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it. When they came on, I said, hey, come and do this under me. So it's time for me to put my money down and go, hey, we're going to do it. Awesome. We're working through all the deals and the leasing and all that sort of stuff at the moment. Reinvested pretty heavily in some pretty hectic equipment that I know that you'll be drooling over later. But for me, it's like the growth of the business isn't going to come from me necessarily now. It's going to come from my team.
Yeah.
So I really want to try and see them shine in whatever way they can.
How good is they?
Yeah.
And if we just pause on that point for a moment, because we didn't actually unpack the second studio, but just to explain for anyone tuning in, because if they're going, hold on, how did we jump from 1 to 3? Your second facility is right in proximity to your first, isn't it?
It's literally next door.
Next door.
So we work in a warehouse precinct, and so they're mini warehouses. The agent for my first warehouse, he's actually the owner of the second. So he booted his tenant out when I said, we're outgrowing this and I kind of need to figure out what to do. He goes, I can just boot my tenant out if I want. And I was like, yeah, let's do that. So we actually ended up with a really good deal because we actually got 3 parking spaces at the front door plus 2 warehouses side by side. So like in the inner west of Sydney, that's like,
very rare.
That's premium, right? That's the primo. Nobody cares about anything else. They just want the parking.
And for anyone who's tuning into this and trying to picture size and all that, first warehouse space was 44 square meters.
Yeah. So the actual working space downstairs is 44, 11 by 4.
Yeah.
Minus a stair set, so it's probably like 37.
Yeah.
The second one is smaller again. The entire studio is 44. No, it's 47 squares. That's upstairs and downstairs.
Yeah, gotcha.
So we have a private model. So
add the two together, we're sort of 90-ish.
Yeah, well, including the upstairs office, which is now where we're sort of running nutrition out of as well. We're kind of like 110.
110.
Yeah, but the actual working space.
Yeah.
So again, for anyone tuning into this going, okay, cool, do I need to take on the massive, 400 square meter warehouse to produce an amazingly profitable business? The short answer is no. That's right.
If you've got, just remember what that comes with at a price, right?
Yeah.
So, if you've got a 400 square meter studio warehouse to run a gym, you've also got to fill a 400 square meter gym. And that includes equipment and that includes people.
If you've got the right strategy.
If you've got the nads to do it, go for it. But you don't need to. You can do it in 100.
Yeah.
And you can do it pretty reasonably for 100. Yeah. Industrial is different to commercial.
Yeah.
Like we pay, the place that we're looking at, it's like 94,000 for rent. The 2 warehouses I have are 67 total. We own all of our equipment outright. I've just drip fed it in and bought it. Like we don't have any debt on it.
Yeah.
We're just cruising. So
love it, man. Love it. Well, to be celebrated and like a massive congratulations from us. I know I speak for both of us when I say watching your journey from the first event 7 years ago, 2018, and you've been a client that whole time. You've been to every event, workshop, Ignite in Bali, Millionaires Mindset Retreat on the Gold Coast, Inspire event end of the year. Came on the cruise last year, the Ignite cruise, like you name it, you went through it whilst still, running a business, having a family, 3 children, all that. You made shit happen, and it's no surprise to us that we see this success. Success leaves clues, and you look back and you go, well, you're the epitome of it, and that's why the 150th podcast. It was just so such a pleasure for us and such an honour to have you on. So, mate, I want to say thank you and congratulations.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, and, if you've been tuning in, listening to this, and I'm sure you've taken away a lot of key things about attitude, mindset, habits, the ways that you can grow a business effectively, and it's so good. On that note, if you're tuning in, make sure you like, subscribe, pass it on, show us some love, because the more that you do that, the more we can reach a bigger audience and have amazing guests like Chris joining us.
Yeah. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you, Mr. Chris Mount.
Pleasure. Thanks very much.